ARMY this news, not because of the official announcement, nor because of the big statement that shook the media. It all started with one thing that seemed simple, but felt different: Jungkook's expression. In some of the latest appearances and moments captured on camera, there is something on his face that makes fans ask each other questions, remind each other, and finally tell each other. The expression was neither obvious sadness, nor the usual bright smile. It is somewhere in between, quiet, deep, and full of meaning that is hard to describe in words. For ARMY who have followed Jungkook since the beginning, expression is not just an expression. Every look, pause, and faint smile has a story. Jungkook is known as a person whose emotions are easy to read, even when he tries to hide them. Precisely because of this, small changes immediately feel big. On some occasions, he looked down more often, his eyes like thinking about something deep inside. When he smiled, the smile was present briefly, as if a weight was being held behind it. The ARMY's reaction was mixed. Some are worried, some are trying to calm each other down, and some choose to read the situation carefully. On various platforms, fans began to remind each other to pay attention to Jungkook more gently. There are different, so roughly the collective feeling that arises. Not to spread panic, but as a form of concern. Because for ARMY, Jungkook isn't just an idol. He's someone they grew up with, whose emotions feel close despite the distance. Jungkook's expression that made fans of this news did not appear once. It is present over and over, in small pieces that when seen apart may feel familiar, but when put together form a pattern. A pattern about a person who is thinking a lot. About someone who continues to carry out their responsibilities professionally, but keeps something unspoken. In the world of spotlight entertainment, facial expressions are often the only loophole for honesty. Many suspect that this expression has to do with pressure. Jungkook carries a weight that is not light: global expectations, demands to always look perfect, and the fact that his every step is watched. He has been doing all this since a very young age. When a person grows up under constant stress, there comes a period when emotions no longer explode, but rather settle down. And the emotions that precipitate often appear as expressions that are difficult to translate, but others see Jungkook's expression as a sign of maturity. Not sadness, but rather the calm that comes after going through many things. Jungkook today is not the same Jungkook he was a few years ago. It has seen the world from many sides, its light and shadow. The expression that makes Kabaran fans is probably the expression of someone who is at peace with himself, although that process is not always comfortable. Interestingly, although his expression changed, Jungkook's attitude towards the ARMY did not change. He still shows gratitude, still appreciates support, still is present in his own way. It is precisely this that makes fans even more sensitive. When someone still gives, still trying to smile, but looks to shoulder something, a sense of wanting to protect arises. ARMY is not just a spectator. They feel emotionally connected. This is where the strength of Jungkook and his fans' relationship feels real. An expression that may escape the eyes of others becomes a small alarm for those who care. Not a panic alarm, but an empathy alarm. Many began calling for a simple message: give Jungkook time, give him space, and keep believing in him. Not everything needs to be investigated thoroughly. Sometimes, the most sincere support comes from an understanding silence. Jungkook's expression also reminded that behind the majestic stage and the cheers of thousands of people, there are humans with complex feelings. The world often demands celebrities to be always strong, always cheerful, always ready. But the expression seems to say the opposite: that tired is human, that silence is valid. And perhaps unknowingly, Jungkook was teaching that without words, just by looking, the ARMY is not losing faith. Quite the opposite. It was a rare sign of closeness between artists and fans. They see, they feel, and they choose to care. In the midst of the speculation that has sprung up, many also hold back, not wanting to conclude too far. Because they know, not all stories have to be open now. And the end, Jungkook's expression that made fans hear was a portrait of the phase of life he was living. A phase that may be quiet, it may be heavy, but it is also full of learning. If there's anything to be gleaned from ARMY's reaction, it's the hope that Jungkook doesn't have to face it all alone. That behind every expression that is difficult to explain, there are millions of people who silently send prayers and support. And maybe one day, when Jungkook is ready, whether through music, words, or just a smile that comes back off that expression will find its own answer. Until that time comes, the ARMY will still observe with the heart, not with demands. Because sometimes, the most sincere attention does not sound loud. It comes slowly, like a concern that turns into loyalty. The ARMY's growing attention also shows how the fan community is growing with Jungkook. They no longer just celebrate sparkling moments, but also learn to read pauses. It was in that pause that Jungkook's expression became a kind of shared language, a language that did not need an official translation. When he is seen staring for a long time at one point, many interpret it as a sign he is gathering thoughts. When he smiled a little and then sighed, fans felt something warm and fragile at the same time. Interestingly, this expression that triggered concern was not followed by a drastic change in its performance. Jungkook kept performing consistently, kept high standards, respected the stage. It is precisely this contrast that makes the ARMY even more newsworthy, because often the most powerful people on the outside are those who are most tired on the inside. The expression seemed to leak a small crack, not to be pitted, but to be understood. In various discussions, many soldiers reminded each other of the times Jungkook once admitted how much pressure he felt. About perfectionism, about the desire to always be better, about the fear of disappointing. The expression that now looks different feels like a continuation of that story. Not a crisis, but rather a long journey that is still underway. A journey that is rarely seen because most of it takes place inside the self. There are also those who consider that Jungkook's expression reflects a phase of reflection. Having achieved so much at such a relatively young age, it was only natural for one to pause to ask, where to go next? Questions of this kind are not always accompanied by excitement. Many times it comes with silence, with a deeper look, with a smile that is no longer in a hurry. Jungkook looks like someone who is rearranging meaning, not just chasing the next achievement. ARMY, in their togetherness, showed the same maturity. Instead of forcing a dramatic narrative, many choose to corroborate. The messages of support flowed, not with demands for explanations, but with reminders that Jungkook may rest emotionally, that he may not always be okay. This attitude makes worry not as an additional burden, but as an invisible collective embrace. Jungkook's expression also sparked a broader conversation about mental health in the entertainment industry, about how a smile in front of the camera does not always reflect the circumstances behind the scenes, about the importance of giving space for artists to be human. Without realizing it, one simple expression has opened the consciousness of many people, that caring does not have to wait for obvious danger signs. In the midst of all this, Jungkook kept going his own way. It does not indulge in feelings, but also does not completely cover itself. There is a delicate balance that he keeps. The expression that made Kabaran fans was probably part of that balance, a sign that he was in the middle of the process, not at the end of it. The process of understanding oneself, accepting limits, and reorganizing energy. If there's one thing that stands out from ARMY's reaction, it's patience. Patience not to force an answer. Patience to wait with confidence. They knew Jungkook always found his own way to speak, often through his work. And when that time comes, the expression that now raises questions will probably make sense. For now, what remains are small moments that continue to be observed attentively. A gentle look, a short smile, a slightly longer pause. It all becomes part of a living narrative, a narrative about an artist who grew up and the fans who grew up with him. ARMY concerns are not a sign of weakness, but rather evidence of a strong bond. And perhaps, behind Jungkook's expression, there's a simple message that hasn't been said yet, that he's learning to live with a new rhythm.